As if they don't have too much on their plate. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, Jon and Wai. They talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review a Smackdown. 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 Review a Smackdown.
Hello and welcome to Review a Smackdown from our central headquarters in Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah.
I am John Pollock, along with Wai Ting.
Yep. Right here.
Are you ready? Are you excited? Are you pumped?
Am I ready? I woke up bright and early. The only thing I wanted to do today was review Smackdown.
That's it? That's all you...
It. No, after this, I'm going right back to bed.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Seattle, Washington way. Quite the lively crowd. And we had
excellent crowd.
Yeah, we had a big preview to kick off the show of the legendary battles between John Cena and Randy Orton, two men that were called up just a few months apart in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And we got clips of them through the years, their battles. First singles match on SmackDown.
Live.
Okay, here's the thing on that. When the WWE throws in stuff like that, your automatic assumption is, oh, bullshit. I looked this up. I don't think they've ever had a singles match on SmackDown.
Oh, this is
a legitimate statistic.
Oh my God.
That your subconscious is just, goes in the side of that the WWE is somehow deceiving you. And in this case, I don't think they were. Now, Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked up their past singles matches, and yes, they've had many on Raw. They even had a singles match that was a dark match at a SmackDown taping, but I don't think they ever had a singles match on SmackDown because they were on Raw together. I don't think they've ever been on the SmackDown brand together.
They debuted on SmackDown together.
Orton was on Raw. And Cena was on SmackDown when he was called.
He debuted on SmackDown, didn't he?
Oh, you're right. He did. Orton was on SmackDown.
But they wouldn't have wrestled each other.
That's right. And then Orton
went
to Raw.
Yeah,
and was part of the whole evolution thing.
Right. That's very fascinating.
It's just a trivia note. I don't know if it's fascinating. Did you realize during this video you wanted to see this match again? Did you have your come to Jesus moment that Randy predicted all of the audience would?
No, not really. Though I do realize, the value of a match like this on free TV. It is a big match you could justifiably put on pay-per-view even at this point.
This is, as of today, the WrestleMania main event. If this were all...
I don't think it would
on the up and up.
Yeah, it wouldn't really justify a WrestleMania main event, but it was a big match for a free TV show. Yeah.
The show started with Daniel Bryan coming out, and he got a enormous reaction in Seattle. This crowd was chanting Daniel Bryan, and he mentions the last time he was here, he was forced to announce his retirement, which was 1 year ago. But says he's grateful that he can come out here as the general manager of SmackDown Live, and soon he's going to be a dad. And then he's interrupted by The Miz and Maurice, who make fun of his retirement and tell him to become a stay-at-home dad, and why is he here when he can't wrestle anymore? And Bryan comes back stating that not being able to wrestle never stopped The Miz from getting into the ring. What a comeback. The crowd just continued to chant Daniel Bryan. There were lots of boos for The Miz, and Bryan challenged the audience to get even louder when Baron Corbin came out and said that The Miz talked too much on commentary last week, and he's talking too much now, as Miz hides behind Maurice. Then Dean Ambrose comes out. He says that The Miz looks like a shoe in his outfit and accuses Corbin of stealing the motorcycle sound effect from his theme song.
I didn't realize.
I didn't either.
I thought he'd have like a howl or something.
Yeah, it's definitely, there is a motorcycle sound. I never realized that they were similar. I did not go back to cross-reference these two.
Corbin actually rides motorcycles. We've learned on Breaking Ground, doesn't he?
Yes.
And
we haven't ever seen Dean on a motorcycle. Not to say he doesn't.
He might.
Maybe.
Looks like the type. Yeah.
Remember that Raw where he had to hitchhike to the headquarters, I believe? So we know he doesn't at least have a mode of transportation.
Yeah, right. All right.
He says that they may not walk out of the chamber at all. Styles then comes out and asks if they are done playing tickle butt. And he's beaten all of these guys before and tells the audience to shut up as they chant his name. And then Bryan suggests a fatal 4-way match. One fatality at these tapings were not enough, Way. We had a fatal 5-way to come, but first, a fatal 4-way. Mm-hmm. And apparently, gigantic differences between that extra body. Because on 205 Live, the fatal 5-way was an elimination match, whereas the fatal 4-way was the first to score a pinfall or submission would be the winner.
That is correct. Yeah.
Why did we have to have these similar names but different rules? Was this not somewhat confusing? I guess you can't call it a 5 corners match, which would be the typical elimination. They have the fatal 4-way and the 4 corners match to differentiate.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we need a new adjective for the 5-person match.
There needs to be a new F introduced beyond fatal. Fragile.
The fragile 5-way.
Well, a fragile 4-way would be true because you're very fragile. You could lose the match without being pinned.
You're fragile in a 4-way too. But
you're not
fatal.
It's not fatal. You could lose the match.
Somebody might. Wrestling is a very dangerous sport. Anybody could die.
Every match.
Botch move.
It's a fatal singles match. It could be.
True. But
we need alliteration. That's a must.
It's not fragile. Okay.
What are some,
fantastic,
fun, formulaic,
feeling.
A feeling 4 match. Foreplay 4 match. That's where they do all this brawling before the bell rings, and it piques the crowd before the match even begins.
They could do that, yeah.
The fornication. Okay.
All right.
AJ, Dean, Corbin, and The Miz had a fatal 4-way match.
Yeah, boy, did AJ get a big babyface reaction. This crowd did not want to stop chanting his name.
This is every week. This is a regular occurrence.
And I feel like
he's got the opposite Roman problem.
Yeah, and I feel like after Mania, maybe now that would be a good time to finally make this guy babyface again, especially on SmackDown, where I feel like they could use somebody like AJ as a babyface.
If you feel that they go ahead and we get the AJ Shane program, I mean, say what you will about Shane, this guy gets tremendous reactions most weeks when he appears live.
Yes, true.
Do you feel this will speed up the babyface reactions for AJ? Will this increase them? Or do you feel that Shane can be a popular babyface against AJ?
I personally don't.
I don't either.
I don't.
But the Shane reactions are something I can't understand.
Yeah.
But they're there. You can't deny that this guy is very popular.
Okay. I think the appeal of Shane is, he's somebody who does really kind of crazy, death-defying, fatal-defying stunts. And the promise of a Shane match will essentially kind of guarantees that you'll see something crazy like that. And that's why people like him. That's why I like watching him. But I'm just judging by a lot of the reaction I see on the internet now for this proposed Shane versus AJ match. And in the past, I really wouldn't take the internet reaction as, the be all end all. But these days I kind of do. Watching a crowd, seeing a crowd like this that's cheering AJ on as a major babyface, I could see there being some resentment for Shane McMahon when that match is inevitably announced. But it all depends how they frame the storyline. They could potentially get AJ to do something really dastardly and get people to cheer Shane that way.
AJ shows up at Shane's house, taking from your Bray Wyatt fantasy booking, and he gives one of Shane's kids a Styles Clash.
Oh my!
You'd be all in. That has every combination of Wai's fantasy booking: home invasions and violence against children.
How is that? That's not a fantasy. I don't wish violence against children. I wanted Bray Wyatt to do something on the level of a kidnapping. Okay, that's it. That's all I've said.
That's somewhat violent. You are taking a child. That's mental violence.
Yeah, okay, sure. It is.
Psychological warfare.
Maybe you can give a mental styles class. I don't want physical violence on children. That's a little too far, even for me. Anyway.
You should be booking TNA.
Oh, wow. No thanks.
You, Dutch Mantel, and Scott D'Amore in a room together.
No thanks.
You would turn the entire thing around.
Please.
So this match begins. Ambrose shoves Styles as he goes for a springboard, and Corbin then sent Ambrose into the steps. We had the latest edition of, it just seems they love to do spots around these big guys and their shoulders. The amount of times I've seen people run into the post on the floor and miss a guy, or miss him in the turnbuckle and run shoulder first into the post. I just feel it happens just multiple times every show. Is this just me?
Like the spot where they run into the post with the shoulders?
Yeah, both on the floor and in the ring. I just think it happens all the time. Corbin was the latest here.
Sort of a standard.
Miz did the Daniel Bryan kicks to the chest as the crowd chanted no. And then all three traded these schoolboy roll-ups, multiples, all for 2 counts. We saw a Tower of Doom spot that Corbin sent Styles, Miz, and Ambrose off the turnbuckle with. Miz kicked out of a deep 6. Then there was a moonsault into an inverted DDT that Styles hit off the middle rope to Ambrose. Styles then hit the phenomenal forearm to Miz, but Maurice pulled Miz to the floor to avoid the fall, and then AJ turned around into the end of days as Baron Corbin pinned AJ Styles to go into the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, this was, I thought, an excellent match. And credit to all performers here, but man, AJ is on some kind of hot streak right now with all of his matches on TV lately. For a throwaway curtain jerker TV match, I feel like this was better than it had any need to be. A lot of fun little spots worked into the whole thing. It just felt more than a typical match.
So what you're saying is Shane could be challenging a streak this year at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Going to be quite the obstacle.
I mean, it's really AJ's streak.
That's the interest I have in that match.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm as negative on this match as I was last year with Taker.
Wait a second, but for WrestleMania,
listen, of course, there's a million reasons.
Shane AJ would be great for Fastlane. Would be great for Elimination Chamber.
You're right. I'm saying just the match in general. This is the wrong time for it. There's so many different opponents. AJ Styles is not a young guy. You should maximize these big show opportunities and people that you will be building your roster around. Shane is the ultimate short-term idea, and I feel that's run its course. I don't think Shane added anything to Survivor Series. He certainly did at WrestleMania last year. I cannot deny that. But just the match itself, yes, I have a morbid curiosity to watch this.
I do too.
And what comes out of it. So, yes, pretty good fatal 4-way match. To kick off SmackDown. Luke Harper was then brooding around in this room with light bulbs hanging and says that a man with nothing to lose is dangerous. But what about someone who had nothing to begin with? Okay. So then he says Randy took his family. So that means he did not start with nothing. He countered his own point.
Right.
And says he knew that Orton was the snake in the grass for a long time, and cutting the head off the Viper is too easy. He wants to hurt Orton and will eliminate him at Elimination Chamber. As JBL said, this is a sibling rivalry on a whole new level.
Mm-hmm. You didn't like this?
It was fine.
I thought it was good. I mean, I thought it was just a more simpler, more effective take on your Bray Wyatt promo. And I actually, I understood what he was trying to say.
Luke Harper is the Google Translate of Bray Wyatt promos.
Perhaps, yes. But I'd like to start to see him kind of do his own thing rather than just kind of rehash the Bray Wyatt thing after this Orton program.
Then we went to Tom Phillips at the desk, and he did a face-to-face interview with Nikki Bella and Natalya on the split screen. Nikki said that the Natty she knew and loved is dead to her. Natalya says, we were never friends. Nikki has no friends. She just has followers who work very hard to make her look good, and boy, are they going to have their work cut out for them after she beats her to a pulp on Sunday and calls Nikki a lousy wrestler. They argue back and forth, yelling over one another. Natalya says that Nikki turned her ex-uncle Bret against her. She always called her ex-uncle, Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Nikki calls her insane. You're like this crazy cat lady. And then Natalya says she's going to put Nikki on the shelf with her pregnant sister, and Nikki's never going to have her own baby. Nikki says all Natalya is good for is wrestling, and she's going to beat her at that on Sunday. Natalya responds that now that Cena's champion, he's not going to have any time for Nikki, and Cena's going to be moving on to a new woman that is better than Nikki. And if Natalya wasn't married, Jon would probably end up with her. And Nikki storms off.
Amazing.
I feel like I was recapping a Maury Povich best of here. Am I wrong for liking this?
I thought this was outstanding.
I really enjoyed this. This felt like I don't want to say a real argument. This was like a perfect parody of a talk show.
Oh, yeah.
Of like a sleazy talk show segment.
It was the best type of Jerry Springer.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Jerry Springer guests that you actually believe in. Yeah. I thought. Listen, some people have not enjoyed this feud. I think yes, a lot of people have criticized.
They've done some shitty things within it. Yes, it's been a long feud. Not everything's hit, but I thought lately that it's been great.
Like they started this feud in November, and here we are in February, and we're just getting to the first singles match between these two.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel stale. I feel that they've really built this up well to the point that I feel of all. There's 3 women's matches on this pay-per-view on Sunday, and this is the one that I think has been promoted the best.
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. I think a major difference in all that is the evolution of Natalya as a heel.
Yeah.
And I think lately, especially in this segment, she's done some of her best heel work that I've ever seen her do. She sounded very smooth and it's very believable. With a lot of her bitterness, and some of the lines she had were just like they were so like, you know, oh shit, can't believe she said that type of thing. And the line about like, you know, a major having a giant crew at Total Divas who have to work overtime to try to make Nikki look good, and especially the line about dating or Cena would be with Natalya if she wasn't married. Was just like one of those what the fuck lines that was like so awesome. It was so great. And so yeah, I thought Natty one of her best performances to date as a heel, and I thought Nikki was great too on the other end, reacting to it all.
It was an awkward exit from this segment because then the graphics showed up going to break. First they showed Cena and Orton, and then Cruz against Ziggler, and there was no voiceover as they went to break. It felt like this was maybe not, I don't know, just this seemed like a mistake.
Or it could have been intentional to sell kind of the
gravity of Natalya's bombshell that in another world she would have ended up with John Cena.
Could you see that being a potential story to come out of this? The fact that Natalya hates Nikki so much is because she loves secretly John Cena.
Could you imagine if you were ever going to do the turn?
Yeah.
Cena and Nikki win at WrestleMania, and then Cena gets on one knee and instead turns and proposes to Natalya.
Jesus, wow. Well, you know, I know on that note, I know the rumors are Maurice and Miz versus Nikki and Cena, but I feel like the crux of this feud has been Nikki and Natalya always bugging Nikki that she will never get married. If there are plans to do this ridiculous proposal at the end of a WrestleMania, shouldn't Natty be on the other end instead of Maurice?
Yeah, but Natalya doesn't have a partner.
Unfortunately.
So that is not going to happen for WrestleMania. You're right, though. I mean, that's been the feud, and you're going to need, if you are going with the Miz and Maurice, it's going to require a big angle, which I think they could certainly do. I mean, the Miz he's done tremendous promos. I think they can make that work. But you're right. They're starting from scratch after Elimination Chamber, if that is indeed the destination for WrestleMania. Apollo Crews and Dolph Ziggler not happening on Sunday. Instead, we got the singles match here. Crews missed and ran into the post shoulder first, and then took a jumping DDT. Cruz then blocked a super kick and rolled up Ziggler in 1 minute and 3 seconds.
I wonder if it hurts more now that they're like these giant LCD pillars instead of ring posts.
It must.
Or does it hurt less?
I mean, Cruz seemed fine. Came back and won the match seconds later. So Ziggler attacks him after the match, grabs a chair. Kalisto runs down, kicks the chair into Ziggler, and hits him with leg kicks, and then goes for this last kick that even JBL called out that Kalisto did not get all of that. He goes for the Salida del Sol, and Ziggler blocks it in midair and crotches Kalisto, hits him in the back with the chair. The crowd chants one more time, and he appeases them and hits Apollo one more time. Backstage, Daniel Bryan comes up and asks Ziggler, "What are you doing?" And Ziggler says, "I could beat Kalisto and Cruz at the same time if I wanted to." What a dumb comment to give to the matchmaker on this show.
Even though he just lost.
Yeah, he just lost to one of them. So Daniel says that he can face them 2-on-1 in a handicap match at Elimination Chamber. What a backwards match this is. The heel,
who's lost,
outnumbered against, he couldn't beat one of them. Now he must beat two of them. So he either fails against these two. I mean, could you imagine him beating these two on his own?
I don't know.
I have no interest in this.
Yeah, this whole thing has been, I mean, I think when Dolph turned heel, everybody was kind of excited. You know, we were all in agreement Dolph needed somewhat of a facelift, but I feel like lately he's just kind of been running in circles, you know.
It's the classic Dolph Ziggler, heel or babyface. Yeah. They will do something to ignite him, and then they ease off the gas pedal instantly, and he's right back to the beginning. And this has been the tale of his WWE tenure. Mm-hmm. So, and that mask tease last week, obviously no direction that they're going. So that was, I don't know what that was last week.
Just a spot.
So then we had another first ever in SmackDown Live history. The first ever dual contract signing.
Wow. A fatal 4-way contract signing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Lots of firsts on this show. As Lance Storm observed, he smelled a swerve that the wrong contract might be signed here by one of the women.
What?
Could you imagine that? Alexa loses to Naomi, and then they reveal that it was, in fact, Becky that signed the wrong contract, and Naomi did not sign on for the title match.
So who becomes champ?
No one. It goes back to Alexa. What a take on the dusty finish.
How would the match even begin?
It would be done under false pretenses, and therefore it would have to be expunged from the record because there was no valid contract for the title match.
So whoever was in charge of the contracts didn't look at the contract?
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, well that should suggest some real
So hold off on your celebrations if Naomi wins on Sunday. And I have zero knowledge of this. This is full guest mode.
I guess it's possible. Wow.
Bliss and Mickey come out first, followed by Becky and Naomi. Mickey says that there are only two elite female athletes in this ring, in reference to her and Alexa. She has more experience than everyone in the ring combined. And then she kicks Renee out for her attempt at journalism cosplay. Are there conventions for that in the journalism world? Journalism cosplay. You have your Anderson Coopers showing up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't know. You should know better than me.
Maybe that's what Melissa McCarthy was doing on Saturday Night Live.
Journalism?
Did you see her Sean Spicer?
I did.
Impression?
Oh, you're saying that was a journalism convention?
Oh, kind of. The scene was kind of.
Yeah. Oh, she was great.
She was.
SNL, I thought Saturday was just great in general.
I enjoyed it a lot too. Mickey says this division was built on her obsession to be the best, and Becky's trying to erase her past and take credit for the women's revolution. She's waited 7 years with the rage building up to come back to the WWE. I'm sure that rage hit its peak when she was shoved onto train tracks by James Storm and is out to get the credit she deserves. She created this division. She created Becky, and now she will destroy her.
I thought it was a more refined and rehearsed version of the story she was trying to tell in her first week.
I thought Triple H was the creator. That was his tagline last week. The creator.
There's more than one creator.
Oh, there's multiple creators. Becky says, when it got too tough, Mickey walked away, which is quite the spin on history, and is going to walk through her. And the 7 years of rage will have to face her lifetime of fire. And she will slap her back into the past, which I don't think is possible.
You ever been slapped?
Not where I've woken up in a year that I've already completed in my life. So that would be a hell of a slap. So Bliss then speaks. She's hit with chants of troll and mentions Mickey beating Trish Stratus at WrestleMania 22 and goes to sign the contract after cutting a promo on Becky and says she almost completely forgot about Naomi, who's just standing there, and just says, yeah, I'll beat you on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Naomi brings up pinning her twice and is going to snatch her bald and points to the...
So that's a line. That's an actual...
She keeps going to this.
I'm going to snatch you bald.
Maybe this will be a hair versus hair match.
I hope she grabs a fistful of extensions in the match.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Could you imagine? Yeah. She's been bald this whole time.
Wow.
Like Kimberly in Melrose Place after the car accident.
She was bald?
Yeah, with Michael Mancini. One of the most frightening scenes you'll ever see in the history of television. The Kimberly reveal in the mirror. Oh, frightened me as a child. She mentions WrestleMania being in her hometown of Orlando. She is going to slide down that aisle as women's champion and refers to Alexa as Lexi Boo Boo and tells her to get ready to feel the glow. And then, in maybe the most impressive moment of this dual contract signing, landed a head kick from the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Try that, Crow Cop, with the table there, and landed this. This is a better kick than Kalisto's earlier. And Naomi that just dives onto Alexa. They all fight, and eventually Alexa and Mickey retreat up the ramp. I thought the women had some good promos here.
I thought so too. I like these segments because you get a chance to see each of the girls take the spotlight and cut your 30-second to 2-minute promo. And, you know, certainly I think Alexa, in my opinion, is at the top of all four.
Wow.
That's my opinion. Who do you think?
Of these four, it could be Alexa. I feel Mickie James, she's still a little bit just too...
She's got this long,
prepared, yes,
delivery.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just her thing, but, you know, I think they all did pretty well. I thought, Becky even in this case did pretty well. But Naomi, I was again really impressed with, and, you know, especially when just kind of considering where she was at, just months ago. I think she's really improved in the short amount of time in the spotlight. And so, you know, she's not better than Alexa. I don't even think she's better than Naomi or Mickey yet, but I think she's at least keeping up. And the crowd is certainly taken to her, it seems, as a babyface by giving her, you know, the big spot at the end. So between these girls, Carmella, Natty, and Nikki, I think SmackDown is doing a great job with their girls.
Then we had a 12-man tag with American Alpha, Heath Slater, Rhino, Fandango, and Tyler Breeze against the Usos, the Ascension, and the Vaudevillains. And JBL asks if Melissa McCarthy could play Moro. And then repeated his lines, Mamma Mia and On Fuego. American Alpha double-teamed Aiden English and then sent the rest of them off the apron to the floor. The crowd was chanting for Rhino throughout this. They go through the break, return. They've got the advantage on Heath. It built up to the tag to Rhino. Everyone brawls in the ring. The Usos take out the Fashion Police. American Alpha dump the Usos to the floor and then hit stereo alpha plexes to the Vaudevillains. Jordan then hoists Gable up over his head and sends him to the floor onto everyone. Victor then takes out Jordan with a European uppercut. Rhino comes in to gore Connor, and then Victor comes off the turnbuckle with a flying knee, and Victor pins Rhino.
Yeah.
The Ascension stand tall. Another first.
Yeah. I'm guessing, I mean, especially from this and also from the emphasis Brian and Renee gave them on Talking Smack, that they're actually making an effort to push the Ascension coming out of this. So we'll see how far that goes. The fact that Rhino was so popular in this match to this crowd, especially receiving no TV time in recent weeks, the breakup with Slater has been completely dropped. But the fact that he still received a reaction like this, I think, shows you how little they've done to build the tag team division in the mid card. But also, it shows the value of bringing, these kind of big name guys from the past as well.
Yeah, it's kind of similar when you compare the tag division on SmackDown with the women's division, in the sense that you have all of these teams, like you have all these different tag teams and you have all of these different women, and yet the results are so polar opposite. Mm-hmm. Like the women's division feels fresh. You've got a lot of
potential contenders.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting characters in the SmackDown women's division, and I am not interested in any of these tag teams beyond American Alpha and the Usos.
Yeah.
And you've done, to your point, they've done nothing with these other teams to make you have any reason to have an interest in the Vaudevillains or the Ascension. Rhino and Slater got over because of their out of the ring stuff, and they've cut all of that.
Yeah.
They're just bodies on the show at this point. They plugged David Otunga appearing on CBS's Criminal Minds Wednesday night, and then replayed the Chamber video from Raw. And then we go to our main event between John Cena and Randy Orton with Bray Wyatt at ringside. JBL mentions there are 28 world title reigns between these two. 28. There was an Irish whip that sent Cena into the steps as they go to the break. They come back. Cena's now in control. Blocked an RKO. The AA gets avoided into a full Nelson slam by Orton. Then they go to the floor. Orton pops off of Cena's shoulders and suplexes him back first onto the announcer's desk. Then they return to the ring. Cena hit an AA for a near fall, then climbed to the top, and Orton stopped him with a draping DDT. Then set up, hit the RKO. Now Cena kicked out of his finish. Cena then placed him on his shoulders, pulls Orton off the ropes after he's hanging on, and this knocks the referee out. He applies the STF, and Orton is tapping, but the referee is out. Bray then attacks Cena. Orton joins in. They set up for the Sister Abigail combo, but Cena stops it and clotheslines Orton, but then Bray hits him with the Sister Abigail. This prompts Luke Harper to enter. He has a stare down with Bray. Bray tells him to leave.
Bray was exercising his mind control.
Yes. And Harper turned his back, but then turned around to hit a discus clothesline to Bray, finally attacking Bray.
He was playing mind control possum.
Wow. And then Orton returns. Harper shoves him from an RKO into a Cena AA, and Cena pins Orton as Luke Harper is unchained from the Wyatt family.
Yeah. Good match. Definitely good match.
I'll say it was, I'm with you, fine television main event.
Yeah.
But if this was to, and this, I don't feel it was, if this was to
headline WrestleMania?
Like whet your appetite? Like you watch this, it's like Randy was incorrect last week.
No, not at all.
But this was fine. This was absolutely a fine television main event.
Both guys are really good. I think the bar is set so high now, and the style that I feel like the audience is now getting used to is essentially kind of like that indie style that I feel like these two don't necessarily excel at. You know, it takes guys like an AJ Styles or a Seth Rollins to really deliver that type of main event. And these guys are, had a great match, but it wasn't really on the level of some of the other main events we've seen. But yeah, it was a good match. Well booked.
I like SmackDown.
I did too.
For the most part. Yeah. I think the tag stuff is the only stuff I really wasn't all that interested in. But we have our card for Elimination Chamber, 7 matches announced.
So do you want to run down the card quickly before talking Smack?
Yes. So let's pull it up here. Well, the main event is our Chamber match with John Cena, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, Baron Corbin, and Bray Wyatt. Nikki Bella against Natalya. Mm-hmm. The tag team turmoil match with all 6 teams you saw in the 12-man tag.
Yep.
Alexa Bliss against Naomi for the women's title. Becky Lynch against Mickie James. Dolph Ziggler against Kalisto and Apollo Crews. And Luke Harper against Randy Orton.
Right.
What do you see as the outcome? Does Orton have like a good competitive match with Harper and win?
I think he has to.
I feel he should too.
Going for the title.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
3 women's matches on this show.
Mm-hmm. And I think they're all of interest. I found it interesting the way they promoted the Naomi and Alexa match along with the Mickie and Becky match at the same time. And they've managed to drive enough interest in both. So I look forward to both of them.
So that's the lineup for Sunday. And we'll go to Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan and Renee Young. And they started off with Bryan reciting all of these facts about Washington, right down to the average rainfall and different tourist spots if you're ever in Seattle, before he realized nobody cares about this.
Yeah.
And they moved on. The first guest was Nikki Bella. And she said that what Natalya said about Cena and her is crazy, and calls her bitter and crazy. Nikki thinks that Natalya is going the personal route because of all the time they've spent together filming Total Divas. And Natalya then shows up and asks if Jon got her booked on Talking Smack tonight, using that pull of his to get on Talking Smack. And she attacks Nikki and leads to the spot where Nikki is under the desk.
The glass table.
Yeah, with this steel bar, and Natalya pulls her arm, sending Nikki's face into the bar as Daniel Bryan channeled his CWC outrage, yelling, "Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!"
This was a really impressive looking spot.
It looked painful.
It looked really great. Like, it looked way too good to be on Talking Smack, you know? But I thought, again, this was a great follow-up. I mean, their double box interview was great, but I think they were missing some physicality leading into the match on Saturday or Sunday. And, you know, it was delivered here. I feel like this was so effective that I almost wish they had a second week, you know, to get Nikki's reaction coming out of this right before the match. But I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing this on the final show before the pay-per-view, I mean,
this is the post show, not even
the post show, exactly.
Yeah.
And you went off the air where this match is in doubt. Yeah. They said, well, follow us for updates. Maybe Nikki won't be ready for Sunday. So you don't even have the confirmation this match is occurring.
The thing is, though, I mean, they don't have another pay-per-view coming out of it, so they do have to do the match. Like, I would say if this wasn't, if it wasn't WrestleMania coming up, the pay-per-view following this, that they could extend this for another month. But, I feel like they have to do it. If not, then what? Just do it on a SmackDown?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the two have had at least one singles match where they just never did a finish. So, I mean, I don't think they'd redo that on Sunday to prolong this. I feel this needs to end on Sunday. I feel that you've done this. This is the right amount of time.
I guess I just feel like it's just getting into its groove. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So. I think it's been well done with both involved. And then maybe this was a first as well. We had to go to a commercial on Talking Smack as they...
Oh, have they not done that before?
Not in the middle of the show like this.
Right.
So we come back and Renee just can't believe that Natalya would do this in a professional environment. And that being funny because this is backstage at SmackDown where there have been many an attack. She says that Nikki's being checked on and Bryan mentions Nikki has been experiencing tingling in her arm just like he did. And Renee says, let's try and bring this up. The mood. The Ascension tonight. There's a mood elevator.
Do you think that's legit? The tingling down the arm with Nikki Bella?
I mean, that has been,
rumors of her retirement.
Well, yeah, there was the report from Ryan Satin about the fact that she could be doing less dates after WrestleMania, almost something similar like Brie, where she'd still be under a deal, but like her neck she is coming back from a neck injury. Mm-hmm. And if she's having like tingling and stuff, and this is well known, I'd be very surprised that they would be allowing her to work through that if that was legitimate. And he's bringing it up here.
Or even do a spot like this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they are not going to skirt around neck issues.
Yeah.
As compared to, you've got a bad knee and might work through it. Bryan then brings up his past, teaming with Victor in 2005 as Double Meat. For all the genius that you can assign Daniel Bryan, when it comes to names, when his suggestion of a ring name was Buddy Peacock when he came to WWE, There have been some glaring omissions to this track record of the genius, Bryan Danielson. Double meet, and says that Victor has worked very hard. And Bryan then starts talking about James Ellsworth and says he believes he knows the reason why Carmella is attracted to James Ellsworth, because in the locker room, they call James Ellsworth James Hogsworth, the big hog. And Renee loses it here.
Yes.
At this discussion, presumably, about James Ellsworth and his dick.
Possible.
Unless maybe it was something else. Maybe he's got a pet hog.
Could be that.
Maybe he's a fan of Hog Wild, the pay-per-view.
Oh.
Maybe he drives a motorcycle, unlike Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a big hog-like wart. Maybe that's what they're insinuating.
I would get that checked out.
Hogwarts. Maybe he's a big Harry Potter fan.
Baron Corbin, who even he was smiling as he got onto the desk here from this discussion. He is asked about never being in a chamber match. He said, well, I was never in an Andre the Giant Battle Royal either, and he won that. He says he punched The Undertaker in the face, but then noted he was eliminated by The Undertaker moments later.
Hey, but no mention of him eliminating Braun Strowman.
Nothing!
Which I think was like the biggest takeaway for the guy coming out of the Rumble.
They really wasted that Braun elimination. Yeah. It's not even relevant anymore. Mm-hmm. And he says he wants to go into WrestleMania as the champion to cap off his first year on the main roster.
Yeah, Corbin has the delivery of like a laid-back football player doing an interview after a game. And so it's not so over the top like a typical wrestling promo, but it's also not boring because the content of his words convey a lot of confidence, and he actually does a great job. So I think his stuff comes across a lot more believable in a setting like this where he just talks. For him, he doesn't sound as well when he's required to perform a solo pro wrestling promo looking into the screen or in front of a crowd. But you know, we're seeing them clearly, like the fact that Baron Corbin has appeared on Talking Smack so much, suggests that they know that this guy's strength is talking in an environment like this. And I'm glad to see them kind of use different mediums for different guys' advantages. Like Corbin does great on settings like this and on commentary. So put him there, let him shine there. Guys like Brock, you know, they do better in these types of interview, like sit down environments and not so much standing up and talking into a camera. So I'm glad that they're using more of these because it gives different guys with different abilities a chance.
So Baron leaves and Bryan talks about Luke Harper and how sadistic he is, stating that Luke Harper would keep moving forward if he was stabbed in the arm with scissors.
Jeez, is that a Arn Anderson Sid reference?
I was going to say, maybe this was teasing something for a dream match scenario. Cena's the final guest, and he immediately asks about Baron Corbin, and then he says, how did Nicole do on the show tonight?
Ugh.
For a guy that is trying to make the transition to become an actor, this was some of the worst I've seen in some time. John Cena trying to play oblivious to our attack from 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah, this was really, really bad, I think, for Cena in particular, because the guy is...
This baby-faced Nicole to such a higher degree. This poor woman, and this guy doesn't give a shit.
It healed Cena a little to me. I mean, Cena has to play dumb about this whole thing.
Oh my God. Why was he even on this show?
I don't know.
Why wasn't he on first?
I think there was some mismanagement to put Cena here. Exactly. You know?
Like, go off the air with the Nikki injury.
And
where you don't have to throw this commercial.
And I personally...
And it's just, it would be so much more impactful if you went off with that chaotic attack.
Completely agree. I have to feel that Cena himself probably wasn't too happy to be put in a position like this, because this is also the first time in kayfabe that Cena is acknowledging the relationship. I mean, up until this point, Cena has never really kind of talked about Nicole. Everything that we've seen of the relationship has only been on Total Divas. So Cena, put in this position, has to pretend that he's concerned, but he's clearly not that concerned enough to go and check on his girlfriend immediately upon finding this out.
He had an interview to do.
So it was weird.
So they played the footage of Nikki being attacked to Jon, and he watched this footage with the level of emotion Wai would have if I showed him a compilation of nut shots on YouTube. He's watching this as Natalya attacks, and he says, ooh. And then the big spot of Nikki's face being run into the steel bar that is inches away from John Cena, where the love of his life was just compromised and attacked. He says, ooh, she had that neck surgery, and that's a little bit much. The emotion from this robot as he watches Nikki attacked here made me question any idea of these two having a WrestleMania program together where their relationship is the basis for the fans to cheer for them. This man he is so uncomfortable in this situation.
Yeah. And again, like, knowing the level of performer John Cena is, I don't really blame him. I do blame whoever was producing this for probably not really giving enough thought and, giving enough, direction on how Cena should be acting. And Cena himself probably didn't have enough time to really kind of prepare a more rehearsed reaction for something like this. Where, I mean, if you're really to script the guy, he should be bailing this interview to go check on this girl, right? Instead, the guy, was resorting to some terrible acting, pretending that he didn't know. And then when he was watching the video live, just kind of seeming like he was a little insensitive and didn't really react the way a hero would.
Can you imagine this version of John Cena at WrestleMania getting down on one knee and, Nicole, you and I have always, had this professional and personal interaction, and if you would change my hustle, loyalty, and respect into heart, love, and romance, I would be willing to engage in marital discussion.
But first sign this contract. That's the type of even on Total Divas though, that's the type of
that was a storyline when she moved in.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So we then have to, Renee grills him about the verbal attacks Nikki has had to face, and Jon just says that Nikki deals with a lot. She's tough.
Yeah. Cena's stance is just, I'll let her fight her own battles. Which I think, for the most part works. It explains why Cena makes no mention of Nikki at all in the body of the show, typically. But I feel like for a severe attack like this,
think about this. If we have to shoot this massive angle with The Miz and Maurice, what could be so heinous that they could do to Nikki that would prompt Jon, after he sat back through all this shit Natalya's done, physical attacks, endangering her neck, verbal battles, that The Miz and Maurice can come up with something so awful,
okay, I'll tell you what,
that Jon will switch his stance.
It would be The Miz threatening to attack Nikki. Because I guess up until this point, it's only been Natalya, another woman attacking Nikki. But if it was The Miz threatening Nikki, I suppose that would cause something. But in this case, I just feel like the reaction was a little bit strange.
Yes. Renee just wanted to move on to Elimination Chamber, and then Cena, the guy in this corner, calls out Renee for this icy cold transition, as Renee, clearly reading the emotional range of John Cena in this segment, goes back to Nicole and says, I do my thing and Nicole handles her battles. But yes, he is concerned about her this Sunday. Thank you, Jon. Thank you. And then we move on to his match on Sunday. He mentions having Charles Robinson as the referee at the Rumble, and then seeing Ric Flair backstage after the Rumble, and then did a breakdown of the chamber, that the biggest obstacles are the chamber itself and the number you draw. Those are the biggest hills you have to climb. and he feels that him and AJ Styles are firing on all cylinders and the others are not where they are at. So now there is someone at his level, but there are still plenty below his level.
What about Bray Wyatt, the guy who attacked him today?
Not at his level, he said here. And he notes that he has performed his interview and he will now go and check on Nikki.
Mm-hmm. So on Sunday, I think we would all agree, you would probably agree with me that the most likely outcome is Bray Wyatt winning the championship, right? To head into WrestleMania with the title against Orton?
I would think that's the logical outcome, unless they want to get cute and do something to just swerve people for the sake of it, and then you do another change on TV. I always hate that idea.
Do you feel like Bray Wyatt is at a level where he a title win is impactful? Like, I feel like he's been very underplayed, in this particular episode on this build towards his pay-per-view.
I don't like this quick Cena reign at all. Like, I feel Cena should be the champion going into WrestleMania. He feels like the top guy. And I think people want to see a big match, a big singles match from Cena at WrestleMania. Probably not Randy Orton, but that is not the way they are going. And Bray Wyatt feels like the title is going from a main event guy to a upper mid-card guy. And that's what that program somewhat becomes, in my opinion. 205 Live. Did you see this show?
I did.
All right. Well, Austin Aries announces off the top that Tony Nese was injured during Raw and not cleared for tonight, and his slot will be filled by the winner of a match between Arya Daivari and Mustafa Ali. Your man. He's back.
He's back, I guess for one night. So, what's up with Tony Nese?
I heard he was walking around backstage, and it sounds like whatever it is, I believe it was PW Insider mentioned that it was some minor heel injury that he may have sustained on Raw.
So it wasn't the Tony knees that were injured.
I think that Tony's knees are okay, I believe.
But his ankles.
Because I wasn't sure at the start of this, because they never explained that this Fatal 5-Way would be an elimination match. Mm-hmm. So there was the option, well, did they not want to beat Tony Nese? Because they have been...
Oh, come on.
Well...
He's hardly been pushed.
He's been winning matches.
Yeah, but not to the point where he could...
No, it sounds like something very minor, and I would imagine he will not be out for any significant time. So, Mustafa Ali and Arya Daivari kicked things off. Ali is driven into the barricade back first and then hit with a neck breaker on the floor. Beats the count back in. Daivari missed a splash. Ali made his comeback with a forward roll into a neck breaker. Daivari was on all fours and tripped Ali going into the corner and then hit a hammerlock into a clothesline, which Ali kicked out of, then came out of the corner with a tornado DDT, set up Daivari and hit the inverted 450 to win the match in 550. The 450 and 550.
He should try to win every match in 450.
Yeah, that should be his goal. And if he doesn't, he loses.
Wow. A fun little match, very fast-paced, very exciting movesets from both men. And again, to the credit of Seattle, the crowd did not seem bored at all. I think 205 Live is certainly the biggest test for these audiences on SmackDown, and Seattle was good for this.
And they positioned Bryan really well because after 205 Live, they did a dark match with Miz and Ambrose and used Daniel Bryan as the referee for the match. And I would imagine they announced that ahead of time because the audience seemed to stick around.
You also had Cena and AJ performing earlier in the night.
True. Yeah.
So, cool.
Lindsay Dorado took on Brian Kendrick. Kendrick cut this promo about Akira Tozawa and says he should be watching and could be lucky enough to become Kendrick's protege.
We also had a Grand Metalik video.
Yes, he will be on next week's show in Anaheim. Dorado hit an Asai moonsault early on, and then Kendrick took control back inside the ring. Dorado hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and a head scissors. There was a high cross off the top, and Kendrick flipped over, getting a 2 count. Then their signals got crossed here as Kendrick went to counter a suplex attempt, and Dorado then did a handspring into the stunner. Dorado climbed to the top, knocked down Kendrick, and then went for a shooting star press, landing on the knees of Kendrick. Got a 2 count from that, and then Kendrick applied the captain's hook, and Corey Graves says, he's too close to the ropes. Kendrick's going to have to adjust. And in mid-sentence, Dorado just tapped out at 4:38. Did not show that fighting spirit to get to the rope. And Brian Kendrick, who, all due respect to Brian Kendrick, I feel is the most boring guy on this show.
What? Why? I could see why you would say that, but okay, but why is that? I think he's great, but what about it in particular?
I'm just not feeling this character where he's the veteran that's just having very plain matches. I just don't see him having any kind of a place on this show. He just feels as though he's here on the show for the reason that he was on this tournament. I don't know. I'm very not into the character. Yeah,
I feel like part of it is because he came in, won the title, so there really seems to be no momentum for the guy right now. As he said, he's the gatekeeper. You know, he's kind of the guy that debuting guys have to defeat in order to make it to the next level. And I'm sure he knows his role at this point. But I'm still very entertained by his matches. I think he's fantastic. I thought it was a nice little match, and I thought in particular it was a great showcase for Dorado, who just basically got most of the offense in this match. And I know that they probably aren't pushing Lince Dorado. The guy's pretty much lost every match that he's been in on the division so far, and that's probably because he can't talk. But I feel like he's way too talented to be just another job guy. The guy, when he's wrestling, it's just he's so much fun to watch. So I'd like to see them either take him out of the division or do some type of rebrand and push him as a new luchador, either in the cruiserweight division or even on the main roster, where I think he'll be fantastic. You know, he's better than, say, somebody like the current Sin Cara, you know, for a role like that. So I hope they do more with him than just have him be another guy to lose to the gatekeeper.
Aries interviewed Kendrick in the ring and asks about his flip-flopping on his opinion of Akira Tozawa, and Kendrick explains Tozawa's special. They formed a bond over the last week and asks Tozawa to come out, and instead Tajiri's music plays, and Tajiri shows up from behind Kendrick in the ring and blows green mist into Kendrick's face, the highlight being the slow-motion replay of the mist into the face of Kendrick.
Okay, so this Tajiri program is resuming, and what does that mean for the Tozawa Kendrick program?
Oh, multiple programs for Brian Kendrick.
Wow.
Or they'll just put the Japanese guys together.
Which I don't think I love.
Neville was interviewed backstage by Dasha and says tonight's match is just about the opportunity for someone to stand across from the king inside of the ring, and that's it. He says he crushed Perkins' dream before and will do it again. Gallagher is an embarrassment to England. Mustafa Ali reminds him of himself 10 years ago. He's got a long way to go. Alexander can only hope of being a threat if he focuses and gives his head a shake. And Noam Dar could barely steal Cedric's girlfriend, so what chance would he have of stealing his crown? Just ran down every guy here.
Yeah, great. I think he does a great job. And again, going pretty full on with the whole King stuff, which he does well. I mean, I can't lie.
There's a balance to it. Yeah. I mean, this to me was not as overbearing as last week, where it just seemed that was every other line had to relate back to the King. And
the biggest redeeming value I could hope for coming out of all this is that I hope that they bring back the King of the Ring, at least for one night, and have Neville win the thing and have him beat heavyweights, not just cruiserweights. Don't just make it because we know he's already the best of the cruiserweights, but to give credibility to that cruiserweight title, have him beat some of these heavyweights and show that cruiserweight champion doesn't necessarily mean you're only the best of the small guys. You're actually just a good guy in general.
Main event was our fatal five-way with Jack Gallagher, TJ Perkins, Cedric Alexander, Noam Dar, and Mustafa Ali. And the bell rang and the lights went out briefly, with Corey explaining that there's so much energy in the ring the lights can't even stay on. They sent Dar to the floor. Gallagher back body dropped Ali to the other three on the floor, grabs his umbrella, opens it up, and did the rumble spot where he came off the top, flying off with this senton while holding the umbrella.
Yeah, it looked great.
Corey Graves loved this. Dar then kicked Gallagher in the shin. Alexander returns, hits the lumbar check, pins Dar, and then I realized it was an elimination match. I had no idea until this first elimination.
I think they had announced it earlier in the show, if not right at the beginning of the match.
See, this fatal four-way on the other show just totally threw me off.
Yeah. I don't think the crowd knew either.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. Perkins then took Alexander and hit a detonation kick, eliminating Alexander. Graves, all throughout the show, was name-dropping former Seattle Supersonics like Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, who were my favorite go-to duo on NBA Jam.
Detlef Schrempf.
Yes.
Great name.
And Gary Payton, he mentioned here. Ali hit a cross-body to Perkins off the shoulders of Gallagher from the top for a 2 count. Then Ali missed an inverted 450, and Perkins immediately applied the armbar, and Ali was forced to tap. And what I loved about this was they showed the replay and emphasized how Ali landed on his elbow from the inverted 450, and Perkins immediately seized on the injury. That was great attention to detail. So it's down to Gallagher and Perkins, with Perkins going after the left knee of Gallagher. He applied a knee bar, and Gallagher had to sell and sell. People might joke about my references to this match when we did Review-A-Wai. This was right out of the Minoru Suzuki Okada match.
What, the selling of
the knee bar and fighting to the ropes?
Knee bar's his move, though.
I know. I'm just saying, like, this was verbatim. Like, what that whole match was built around was just Suzuki constantly applying these knee bars.
Okay.
I'm not saying he stole it.
Oh.
The crowd is chanting Jack. They were really into this during the final two here.
Crowd was really into Gallagher as a babyface, and to kind of further add to Perkins' reaction on Monday, I felt they were treating Perkins as a heel here.
Perkins attacked him with leg kicks. Gallagher then did his handstand in the corner, and when he went down, sold his leg from landing, takes a detonation kick, but doesn't fall on his feet. He responds with a headbutt and then collapses on top of Perkins, which I just think is a great near fall Gallagher does.
Yeah.
When he just is like out of it and collapses. Crowd was loving this. Gallagher landed another headbutt and then the running drop kick in the corner, which, yes, that's his finish he's used in the past, but given this was Seattle, I thought was a nice touch to use the Daniel Bryan spot, and pinned him at 13:56. I may go so far as to say this was my favorite match I've seen since 205 Live began, and maybe the best 205 Live thus far. I thought the crowd really helped this.
The crowd is a major factor.
A major factor.
Yeah.
That cannot be understated. And Jack Gallagher certainly has something special. That this audience, all audiences have gotten into with this guy. And it ended with Neville just coming out to hold up his title at the entrance. So I really enjoyed this 5-way. This was my favorite match on either show.
A very strong addition. I would say either this or the opening match I thought were both really good. Maybe I'll even give the
the 4-way was good. I really like the booking of this 5-way as well. And I thought the final couple of minutes with Perkins and Gallagher was really strong.
Yeah, Gallagher certainly is the best choice of the roster at the moment to challenge for Neville. Though I don't see Gallagher being hot enough to win the belt off of Neville yet. I think there's a lot more story to be told with a series of matches between the two. So I'd like to see him and Neville go for it for a little longer over the belt. But I think it's a strong program with a strong babyface and a strong heel, which is more than you could say for any of the champions in the division so far. So Perkins, on the other hand, I feel maybe it's time to try this guy as a heel. I feel like he had a bit of a heel reaction on Monday, and in this match, he was certainly positioned as the heel to Jack Gallagher in the finish of the match. So I don't see this guy going too much further as a babyface at this point. I think the division kind of needs stronger heels anyway. So I'd like to see if a heel turn would bring a bit more personality out of him. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, he's really a character geared at kids, and I see tons of merchandise opportunities for him that I would not want to turn if I was him.
But he's not over yet to sell that merchandise, you know? Just because a guy has merchandise doesn't mean he's not worth turning.
Would he be a heel gamer? Or would you have to kind of distance yourself from the gamer stuff?
I feel like he would. Like, that entrance music is very much a babyface type of entrance thing, you know?
Maybe he can start doing a spoiler gimmick where he comes out and he ruins things.
He ruins SmackDown?
That would be great.
He'll just come out reading the card for WrestleMania? Just like...
Oh, man. Yeah. That'd be great. Comes out and, like, ruins movies that just came out that weekend, or a TV show that just he binge watches a Netflix series and no one has a chance to see it. Like he's already finished Iron Fist and ruins.
If he was a true internet millennial heel, he would just basically be a physical embodiment of the YouTube commenter.
Yeah.
Especially the ones on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
YouTube.com.
It'd be wonderful.
The ones right below this video.
Yes.
For those watching.
Yes. Have you noticed the tension you and I are having?
Apparently.
That we always have.
Apparently.
Wade does hate me. He tells me that after each show. So anyway, I've got to say this was one Tuesday where this did not drag for me, these 3+ hours.
Yep.
I thought each show contributed something. My high would be the Fatal 5-Way, and my low would be John Cena on Talking Smack.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think some very strong segments. Overall, 205 Live was really good, but I thought a very strong 4-way. The Nikki Natalya stuff was actually a highlight for me. So, and the girls' contract signing, I thought they did well. So, SmackDown was very entertaining, and of course, big credit to Seattle for providing a great atmosphere.
Last week, SmackDown did about 2.8 million viewers, which is kind of on the higher side for SmackDown, given they promoted Cena and Orton for a week. What do you think SmackDown does on Tuesday night?
I feel they do better.
Better?
Yeah.
Do you think they hit 3 million?
Sure. No. I'm going to say no.
Sure, no.
Yeah.
All right. Really?
I'm not good at that shit.
It's just a guess. It's just, let's go to the feedback on the Law message board. Hey guys, what are your thoughts on Dolph Ziggler not being in the Elimination Chamber? And he also asks about the idea of shooting angles at the Hall of Fame ceremony just to ask the question if something was real or not. I don't really like that idea.
Yeah, I don't
think anyone would buy it as real. I think it would be it's not the right forum for it, and I don't think people want that.
Not in the body of a speech, certainly not. However, I mean, they did used to shoot angles at the Slammy Awards, which took place right before, but the Slammys were a lot
Slammys were so much more tongue-in-cheek and open for that kind of thing, where I feel the Hall of Fame, more so than anyone else, the people being honored take it very seriously. And I just don't feel... I agree. You have a million outlets to do angles. I mean, I don't think there's any point.
I agree with you. We go to Lei Big Hog Wulong from West Palm Beach. I agree with John that Triple H wouldn't bring that much more interest if he was in a match with a random wrestler, since the feud with Seth has been built up for so long. But I don't think it would hurt to have him wrestle someone if they do it right. Just don't know who is available for a feud that would make sense. I'm hoping Seth finds a way back in time. Anyways, on to SmackDown, I like the segment between the 4 beautiful and talented women, but I thought it was funny that Naomi was the only one in her ring gear. I guess it made sense since there was a brawl. Great reaction for the Fatal 5-Way main event. I'm so happy they got a good response from the crowd.
Chupacabra. SmackDown. Great job making Corbin look strong going into Sunday by pinning AJ. I'm so glad Mickey's back. She adds a lot to the women's division and still looks as great as she did 10 years ago. I like Dolph's new chair-heavy attitude. Laparco would be proud. 205 Live, decent 5-way. I've been a wrestling fan nearly all my life, and I can honestly say a Mary Poppins rally chant was something I never thought I would hear. I see TJP turning heel very soon, and on Talking Smack, I'm glad Natalya had a chance to show her dominance in the brawl with Nikki, since she'll probably be jobbing to her Sunday. That was a hell of a shot to the glass. Where's the barbershop window when you need it?
Mark from Vaughn. This may have been the best night for the cruiserweights since the CWC. It's not like the handcuffs were off, but it felt different from the main roster style. I'm liking that there are more than a half dozen unique characters to build the division around. Question, which path would you follow for Mania? A, building one strong contender to challenge Neville, or B, have a multi-man match at a fast pace working more of a classic cruiserweight style to be memorable and unofficially relaunch the division on a big stage. The thing is, the fact that they're able to work that match in the Fatal 5-Way, doing all those flashy moves and doing all those kickouts, is because it ended the evening. You know, I don't think for a second they'd be allowed to have a match like that, doing all these, flashy, like, 450s and all that stuff, if it was the opening match on the show. There's just something politically that I don't think they would allow. If it was on Raw, they wouldn't be allowed to have a match like that. So I feel like at WrestleMania, I think it'll be a multi-man match just because like they like to put everybody on the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I see them having enough space for 2 cruiserweight matches. I also don't know if I think Gallagher's hot, but I don't see him being a hot enough contender to warrant a singles match.
When you look at it too, if you were to do a multi-person cruiserweight match, assuming Austin Aries is ready to come back, you've got Grand Metalik debuting next week, you've got Neville, it's turning into a cruiserweight division with a ton of talent. Mm-hmm. Akira Tozawa, that's a hell of a lineup. Just those names right there, not even including
hell of a
some
lineup
of the others.
though, but to the hardcores, not to the casuals yet.
No, but I feel that, you do have some time to introduce Grand Metalik, who I think more so than even Tozawa has the ability to just get over with his in-ring as anything, because, he's going to be limited too, promo-wise. Bobby from Florida. After watching tonight's episode and seeing Styles lose, I'm curious of your opinions on why Styles had to drop the belt at the Rumble. If Bray's going to win on Sunday regardless and Cena is heading to a mixed match with Miz, why couldn't Styles pick up the definitive win? I think it was more so than anything, it was to give Cena this, to tie this record. And that was the thinking.
And therefore, do you think that they're trying to set up the record-breaking win, maybe for a SummerSlam or at some point in the year?
I could only see that being the reason to do it, and then really give that the big promotional push. Maybe they have SummerSlam already planned with that. Maybe not. I feel though story-wise, in all the same directions, you could have had AJ win at the Rumble where Cena has his respect at the end of it, and then AJ is immediately thrust into this chamber match, loses the title without even necessarily Bray pinning him. He'd have to be eliminated, and that can cause all of the heat onto Shane for booking him in this chamber match. Yeah. And you go in all of the same directions, and you don't cheapen a John Cena title reign, which if he loses it Sunday, they've done, in my opinion. Your turn.
Okay, my turn. We go to Paul from New Jersey. I really enjoyed Natty in the sit-down interview segment so much, to the point she's almost the babyface here. Nikki added, like, honestly, and oh my god. Speaking of babyface talk, if AJ Styles does get stuck with Shane at Mania, how did they keep him heel? Nobody wants to boo this guy. Kind of discussed that.
Yeah.
Kidnapping. That's what.
That's the root to everyone's hatred. Jesse from the 6, in response to your discussion yesterday about how much Triple H would add to WrestleMania, this touches on a broader topic I've wondered about for a while. How much does an undercard really add to an event's buys? Realistically, very little. The unofficial formula was always 10% of your card makes up 90% of the business it draws. Right. There's a reason you call them the money programs, because they are bringing in the bulk of your audience. You have your audience that is buying regardless, and then the difference makers of how much you can grow upon that. So in the grand scheme of things, your undercard, it's bringing minimal. It's kind of just hopefully providing an entertaining show.
And I would say that's the argument, is that you want to at least provide the value for your longtime fans who are watching more than just the main event. Mm-hmm. We go to Rory from Melbourne, who says, "Hey guys, this was a good show, not as good as Raw, but still good. The Fatal 4-Way was not bad with the surprising win for Corbin. And is Corbin now a tweener? The contract signing was okay. I just love seeing Mickie James on my TV regularly again. Who is walking into Mania as women's champ?"
As women's champion?
I think it'll be Alexa.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take the title off her.
Yeah. It's better with people chasing her.
KB from New Jersey, another solid show from the Blue Brand. I'm looking forward to the Chamber, but more importantly, John, my wife and I are also fans of Riverdale, and she has an interesting thought that Betty is actually the killer. And this isn't ruining anything, because Archie hurt her sister Polly, if you remember.
What, they're killing? There's murder on this show?
That's the whole... I totally screwed this up on Monday. I was not even aware of this, that this show is airing in the U.S. on the CW, and that's why it's going up weekly. On Netflix is the international distributor,
gotcha.
I believe. So that's why it's once a week.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if Betty ends up as the killer.
Okay. What are you, TJ Perkins here?
Oh,
spoiling?
This isn't spoiling anything. This is like the introductory story, is that there was a murder. And that's the whole basis. It's like Desperate Housewives, season 1.
I'm still not watching.
Okay.
Kevin from Vancouver. Overall solid show tonight. I personally would have waited for Harper to hit Bray until later, but I think they are going to have a triple threat match at Mania. So from that perspective, it makes sense. Luke versus Bray versus Orton. Is that a possibility?
I feel Luke is already separate from the Wyatts.
And boy, does it cheapen your Royal Rumble win to have Luke Harper, who's really done nothing to earn that title shot, be put in the same position as Randy Orton.
Yeah, and three-ways to me are not of much interest. And I mean, the argument for this being the title match is that when all is said and done, Orton stands tall with the title and the Wyatts have disintegrated. And Randy Orton infiltrated them, destroyed them, and came out as champion. Like there is a long-term story that can be played out here. And Bray is the final obstacle.
Yeah.
You didn't read the PS, by the way.
Oh, PS. Betty is my early lead as the killer on Riverdale. Wow.
There you go. Steve from Edmonton, another solid, easy-to-watch episode of SmackDown. Sometimes Raw seems like a chore to watch on Mondays, but I find I look forward to Tuesday nights. Overall, it was a solid show with a nice women's segment, an awesome raw and ruthless promo on Nikki with all of the personal relationship shots. However, it certainly looks like they are indeed going towards the Cena marriage proposal at WrestleMania, or at least sometime in the near future. Looking forward to a solid, long Elimination Chamber match on Sunday. Anything towards the fact that Michael Cole kept referring to the all-new Elimination Chamber. The rules seem the same. Is there any word on the chamber itself being a new, different structure? We talked about this on Monday. I would just assume it's a redesigned structure, but the same, like I don't expect anything wild to be different.
Yeah, similar shape.
Maybe an upgraded look.
Yeah.
Maybe some more room to stand on top of the pods, which have been difficult in the past.
Yeah. Are there certain things about the old chamber you would like to see them change that you think was
Well, I mean,
difficult?
The big one was, and it happened with other guys after, but that first one where Van Dam went to do the frog splash and landed on Hunter's throat is like, you can't get any height jumping off of those pods.
Yeah.
So it makes it tougher that you could maybe redesign it so it is a bit more open for spots off of the Lexon pods, as they are identified as.
What about the bulletproof plexiglass?
I think they should remain bulletproof.
In the event of a gun making its way into the chamber?
It's a very chaotic time in the world that I would not be giving up on bulletproof anything.
Gotcha.
Except for maybe coffee.
Bulletproof coffee?
Never heard of bulletproof coffee?
No, what's that?
It's a thing.
Okay.
I've never tried it, though.
All right, let's wrap up here with a Maniac from Melbourne who says, with the rumors that Eva Marie is done with the WWE, can you see a link between her leaving and Emma's promo being back this week with an announced debut for next week? Eva's gimmick got serious heat but ended prematurely. Maybe they're going to give that character to Emma now. Although Eva had go away heat due to being horrible at everything, Emma can work and is a passable promo, so I'm not sure the gimmick would work as well.
I don't believe Eva's leaving. I think people are reading into that because I think she removed WWE Superstar from her profile, but
she dyed her hair, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she did that movie and dyed it. I don't think she's leaving. So anyway, I don't see one replacing the other. All right. That wraps it up. Thank you for all your feedback. There were some good questions, some good comments this week. So thank you. Wai Ting and I, if you have not heard enough of us, you've got Review-A-Raw from this past week. And this Friday, we will be back Friday morning with a review of Elimination Chamber 2009. And you can still get your feedback in at lawradio.proboards.com. And I'll throw it out there as well for the same feedback thread. What WrestleManias you might be interested in us chatting as we get closer to WrestleMania this year.
That we have not done yet.
So you can cross-reference with the archives for Manias we have done. There are quite a few that we have done, but also quite a few that are open. So you can leave those as well in the feedback thread. Thursday.
Should we make a poll?
We could make a poll.
Okay.
Sure.
Vote.
Yes. Okay. We'll do that. We'll do a Twitter poll.
Twitter poll?
I'm not a fan of these message board polls.
Oh, really?
Let's get out to the masses.
Okay.
Here.
Sure.
So we'll do that. And then we've got Thursday. What's Next will be out chatting about tonight's episode. Thursday, we'll also have the MMA report with Jon Anik, the man who will be calling UFC 208 this Saturday with Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier. Are you watching the UFC card this Saturday, or is this one not of?
Not live. I won't watch it live.
Anderson Silva and Derek Brunson on this card.
Oh.
So that is coming up Saturday. And then Sunday night, it's The Law, 11 Eastern. We'll be on right after Elimination Chamber. Going through the card, we'll probably have a better idea of the SmackDown side heading into WrestleMania. We will chat with Dave Meltzer. Title bout trivia to win a t-shirt, which you can always get at prowrestlingtees.com/law. And that is it. We will chat with you later on Friday. Good night.